Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mike Pelletier again with another edition of The Unvarnished Truth. Today is Monday, November 14th, 2016. And what I would like to do today is to reflect on a few more truths about the November 8th presidential election. A lot of people, most Clinton supporters, are making a good deal of the fact that she won the popular vote. And this is understandable. I mean, I would too if I lost the presidency but won the popular vote. I think the same happened to Al Gore in 2000. Plus, there were some legal wranglings in addition. Let me digress for a minute and just talk a little bit about Bush versus Gore. A lot of people say that Bush stole that election and that Gore should have been elected president of the United States. He would have been had he won Tennessee, his home state, but he didn't. Be that as it may, I think that David Boies would agree that Gore's attorney, that they made a strategic mistake seeking recounts. I mean, the Florida recount was a complete catastrophe. I mean, hanging Chads and dimpled Chads, and the whole thing was ridiculous. And I think the Supreme Court was right to stop it. But I think the strategic mistake was to not ask for a whole state recount, but a recount only in Democrat counties. I don't remember the names of them, but they were mostly in southern Florida, in the Miami area. And, that was a strategic mistake. If they'd asked for a statewide recount, they would have had a much better argument that the recount should go forward. But now returning to Clinton and Trump, and listen, I understand why they would make a lot out of the fact that she won the popular vote. It is understandable. She won it by about 630,000 votes, or at least that's the count so far, 47.8% to 47.3%. But Trump won quite handily in the Electoral College by winning, razor thin margins in a whole series of battleground states. It was just remarkable. And Trump supporters, Clinton supporters, cast doubt on the Electoral College. How you can't cast doubt on the constitutionality of the Electoral College because it's in the Constitution. Anything that's in the Constitution is by definition constitutional. Now, is it good policy? I think it is, but I'm not going to get into that discussion here. I think the point, although I guess in a way I am going to get into that discussion, because what I want to talk about is the fact that Clinton's 630,000 vote majority is completely accounted for by two states. I call them communist nations within our country, California and New York. Her margin of victory in California was 2.8 million votes. Her margin of victory in New York was 1.5 million votes, for a total of 4.3 million votes. In other words, the rest of the country voted for Trump by close to 3.7 million votes, but those two states gave Clinton a 630,000 vote edge nationwide. And those two states, extremely liberal states, have something in common. They're a lot like the federal government. The debt in California is $473 billion. That is the debt of the state of California, $473 billion. The debt of the state of New York is currently $360 billion, for a total of $833 billion. Two states, 2 out of our 50 states, Their debt approaches $1 trillion. That is just simply inconceivable. The federal budget of the United States first exceeded $100 billion. The annual expenditures of the government of the United States first exceeded $100 billion in 1964. We are now talking about two states with debt of $0.83 trillion in the aggregate. That is simply astonishing that two states could have so much debt, but they do, and it is ridiculous. So those two states have something in common with, they're both Democrat states run by Democrats, extremely liberal policies. I believe both now. I know California, I think New York, but I could be wrong, have legalized pot, even though the federal government it is criminal to traffic in pot. But of course, the states are defying the federal government because the federal government won't enforce its laws. By the same token, California is famous, San Francisco among them, for its what are they called? Cities where sanctuary cities. California is famous for its sanctuary cities, cities where illegal immigrants can come. Of course, the libs, the politically correct, call them undocumented. They're undocumented because they're illegal, because they stole their way into this country, entering illegally. Do I have something on my lip? No, I'm perfect. They're not undocumented, they're illegal. But California is famous for its sanctuary cities, San Francisco, where illegal immigrants can live, even though the federal government would require their deportation, because the federal government turns a blind eye to its own laws. This is something we have to take care of. The Trump administration has to bring an end to sanctuary cities. But I digress. The point is that these states are a lot like the federal government. They are awash in debt. They're run by Democrats, just like our federal government was run by Democrats and is awash in debt. $20 trillion to be exact. But these two states, between them, have almost $1 trillion in debt of their own. How can they ever hope to pay that back? And the final point I'd like to make about the election, right now I think Trump leads 290 to 228 in the Electoral College, and the only state outstanding is Michigan, with 16 electoral votes, 100% of the vote in, and Trump has a 12,000 vote lead. We are now we are in the seventh day. This is Monday the 14th. We are in the seventh day after this election. Why isn't the vote in Michigan done and final so that Trump can claim his victory there and add 16 electoral votes to his total for a total of 306 to 228? A fairly, by no means a landslide, but a fairly convincing victory in the Electoral College. So that's all I wanted to say today, Monday, November 14th, 2016, and that is that California and New York completely more than account for Hillary Clinton's popular victory, or victory in the popular vote nationwide, and they are extremely liberal Democratic states awash in debt. $0.833 trillion. Put another way, $833 billion in debt between them, just like our federal government, which is now $19.8 trillion in debt. The situation is nearly hopeless, and I hope Donald Trump can turn that around. People are talking about what he should do in his first 100 days. To me, the first order of business would be for him to tell the Congress, I want a balanced budget for the fiscal year ending October 31st, or is it, excuse me, September 30th, 2017. In other words, no more debt. Add no more debt to the national debt. The budget deficit for the fiscal year just ended is close to $600 billion, $580 billion, less than the amount of the debt of California and New York, I might add. But we're adding another $0.6 trillion to the national debt as a result of President Obama's policies. I think the first order of business for Trump should be, I want a balanced budget on my desk for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2017. Period. End of discussion. Find $600 billion in spending cuts or $600 billion in new taxes, any way you can, but get it done. That should be the first order of business. So that's all from here on this umpteenth edition now of The Unvarnished Truth. Farewell from Maryville, Tennessee.